So you went to the race?
Huh?
So you went to the race?
Yeah, it's blinking.
Yeah.
It's blinking about.
You're on camera. Here, see yourself?
Yeah. That's a waste of time.
Let me zoom in.
No, it's a waste of time.
There we go. There you go. Okay. I don't know what I did.
Hmm?
I don't know.
It'll all be up here in a minute.
I don't know if this light can help or not. I don't like the light. Oh well. Okay, so anyway, so I'm reading this book by Tom Brokaw. I gotta give it to you, Paul.
Okay.
Except I'm reading it and I like it. Anyway, one of the things he says, he sits down, he went back to Normandy for the 40th and the 50th anniversary of D-Day, and he said none of these veterans would talk, you know? They'd all just show up and nobody would tell war stories or anything, so he started just asking them, like, where were you that day? You know, the D-Day, you know, what were you doing? But I was thinking, actually, and they were talking about going back through, like, how your generation was brought up, you know, and you went through the,
Oh, yeah, starts the first in January, yeah.
no, but you went through, like, the Depression, you know, you were young kids,
Oh, yeah.
and nobody had any money and stuff, and that helped mold everybody, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, you joined up in ROTC at Purdue, right?
Huh?
You were in ROTC in Purdue?
2 years in Roxy and Purdue.
And when you signed up for ROTC, did you think you were going to have to go fight?
No, I didn't, well, probably.
You thought you
Because
might?
that was in 38, you see, and they were already fighting over in Europe, and the guys were volunteer for Air Corps for Europe.
So you thought you were going to fight?
Probably. So, well, I thought there was going to be a war.
Did you? Really?
Oh, yeah. I was almost certain of that, because, hell, it's not, World War I was only 19 years old, you see, 19 years since it's got over. And you could tell because they were doing CC camps and
What's
that
that?
kind of junk.
What's CC camps?
Civilian Conservation Corps, and they were using army people to do the training out there, training in.
Okay.
They were conservation people, but and WPA was goddamn.
Yeah. So you joined ROTC. When, and did you, like...
I didn't join the Roxy, they joined me.
Oh, really? Oh, you didn't sign up for it voluntarily?
When you went to Purdue at that in 1938,
Oh, you had to do it.
You automatically joined in for Roxy for 2 years.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you volunteered.
No way.
Oh, okay. Huh, okay.
But of course that was just, I don't know how long they've been doing that, you see, because
Okay.
I imagine they've been doing it since about 36, making
Okay.
Everybody joined Roxy for the 2 years.
So where were you when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
In somewhere in Kentucky, I can't remember the name of the town.
Well, you work in the summer?
Bowling Green, Kentucky.
You were working?
Yeah, I was running a survey crew down in Kentucky for AT&T. On cable until the Chicago Atlanta cable company.
Okay.
And the guy that had been running that line out there got drafted because he was, so they sent me down there to take his place, and I got almost all the way across Kentucky.
So you heard about Pearl Harbor, what, on the radio? Or did people come tell you?
No, I come about Pearl Harbor the night we got in. When the night they got out, the night it happened, over the radio. The night it happened, over the radio.
And what'd you think? Did you think right then you were going to be going?
Well, Griff and I worked here for a couple of weeks, and then we went home for Christmas, and we never did go back to work.
Okay.
Because we got our notice right after Christmas.
Okay, so that happened in June, so it's 6 months later that you
Huh?
got, So-
That was in, I was 22 years old, 11 days after, 4 days after Pearl Harbor.
oh, that was in December. I was thinking it was
Yeah,
June.
December.
Oh, June is D-Day, okay.
And so, Griffey and I both got shanghaied in the Army the 20th
Okay.
of February.
So that was right away, like
Yeah,
immediately
yeah,
after
yes.
Pearl Harbor, you were gone. So
Yeah.
what where'd you go then? You went to
I
Fort
went
Bragg?
I went to Fort Bragg down to a survey, training center.
Okay. But you'd already been surveying, so you already knew what to do.
Well, yeah, well, it's about the second Saturday night I was there. Well, I kept the sergeant, but the sergeant and the platoon sergeant.
Why'd you do that?
Well, they come out and dumped me out of my barracks because he come in and was going to have an inspection about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't get up. All the other boys got up because they'd already been through the time machine. So when they come in, all for inspection, they jumped up and stood at attention and all that sort of shit. And I didn't. I just laid there. He come over and dumped me out of the cot. I was in the hall because they didn't have a place around the wall for me. So I just kicked the shit out of him.
Yeah, a little bit insubordinate.
Yeah. And so the next, Willie's looking in the door there.
Okay. Well, can you get in?
Huh?
Can you get in?
Or is it somebody else? I don't know.
Okay. Hold on.
Sit up, Ray.
He's got to put his leg up. That's all right.
Oh, all right,
All right,
if Nate
that's
thinks
all
she
right.
can get it.
I don't know. Anyway.
I
do the
got my
best we
mission
can.
accomplished, buddy.
Huh?
I got my mission accomplished.
Well,
I turned in a resume and I turned in my voucher.
oh, good.
So, he's at Fort Bragg. How long are you there? Well, what happened to you? They put you in the brig or something?
Don't know. Next morning, the captain called me down to headquarters and says, what am I going to do with you? I said, I don't know, but I don't care, but you're going to do something with it. If you do something with me, you're going to do something with Sam Sergeant. He says, how come? I said, ain't no sergeant can have that while I'm around in the middle of the night. I said, I don't give a damn how much rank he pulls. So about 2 weeks later, we had a survey problem. So, and the survey problem was amounted to taking run the survey from a dummy battery up to a low P,
What's the battery?
4 guns,
Okay. Big, like, cannons
Cannon.
kind of thing? Okay.
Howitzer.
105s,
Okay.
and the battery is is 4 guns, and the battalion is 3 sets of guns, you see.
Okay.
And so we had to do the 3 sets of guns to run up to the OP. Well, so as he knows, Bragg's nothing but sand and pine trees.
Where is that? Where's Bragg?
South Carolina.
North South Carolina, North
Okay.
Carolina.
North
Okay.
So the sergeant ever been ignoring the hell out of me, and I've been running every morning when we have runs for one. And so there's a guy named Badcock, and I've just been running that goddamn sergeant crazy, but running him in the ground. He thought he was a big he-man, you know. So we've been giving him lessons. We even gave lessons to the lieutenant, the regular Army lieutenant that we had.
He was young and in shape.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Tough as rock.
So did you know where you were going? Did you know you were going to Europe, or did you think you were going there?
I didn't have the slightest idea where I was going. Well, anyway, when I said I was giving this sergeant such a bad time, he wouldn't put me on his crew done that survey.
Uh-huh.
So this is the corporal got a crew, you know. And he said, well, let's get started chopping. I said, let's don't do that. I know a better way to do that. I said, you put your man up on that hill with a flag that I can see from down here, and we'll find a baseline somewhere around here, easy, and we'll go over the top. So that's what we done. And in about 2 hours, we had our project done, turned in, and approved. And the sergeant got in at 4 o'clock. She chopped all day, and he just got his survey up. I didn't have it calculated or turned in or nothing. So that was really, so I graduated from the survey class that day.
Okay.
So about next week, well, they transferred me to firing at just a regular training battery, but they wanted me, they used me for demonstration till I got maybe a lance corporal, and
So did you stay at Bragg the whole time?
Huh?
Did you stay at Bragg the whole time?
until for 30 days.
Okay.
Well, no, 30 days for 3 months. I had to stay there for 3 months.
Okay.
And then they sent me to SEAL. Well, but in the meantime,
That's in Texas.
OCS,
Okay.
Officer Candidate School. Well, after right after I went to damn sergeant, my papers got there from the fort up here at not Atterbury, but
Harrison.
Indianapolis.
Ben Harrison.
Ben
Henry
Harrison.
Harrison? Oh.
And they found out I'd been about 2 years ROTC, and I was surveying and all that sort of stuff, My records got there, and so they sent me. They called me in to send me to OCS. And so, since I was well qualified, over anything they had,
Okay.
So at the end of the 3 months, they sent me to SEAL for the OCS.
How long were you there?
3 months.
And then you got shipped out?
We had to stay there 6 months because at that time you couldn't get a commission unless you'd been in the Army for 6 months.
Okay.
So they locked me up for 2 days because I couldn't get out of the damn camp.
Did
They used to go into someplace to go drinking. Now it was there by Fort City.
Wichita Falls.
Wichita Falls.
Whiskey Falls.
Called it Whiskey Falls.
In Texas.
That's right. And he's got some stories about he was leading gymnastics there at Fort Sill.
Yeah, I read
He's got a
that
good
in
story.
Fort Bragg.
Oh, that was at Fort Bragg. I thought it was at Fort Sill.
Yeah, when they put me on that regular firing battery, the regular training battery, they used me as a demonstrator for the morning exercises.
Yeah. And
And
so
then run me on a run. Then they took me on a run. Then took them all on the run. I could stand and exercise until they all fell out. Didn't make any difference.
was that your football training? Hey, were you okay though? Cause you hurt your knees or something, right, in football?
Yeah, but that wasn't going. That knee was going the year I got. Yeah, that year was going long before I got to it. It was over with by that summer.
Oh, okay, so you were back in shape, obviously.
Oh, yeah, that's
So in this 2-mile run they were doing, he had to leap a creek, and Ray was right at the front with his buddy, right?
yeah.
What, Sullivan buddy or?
Babcock and I made the creek. The lieutenant did. We had to go back and pull him out.
So did you know anybody in, like any of your friends from school or from Purdue or from Sullivan or anything that?
No, none of them were better than me.
Did you follow up where everybody was or?
No. No.
So then you got shipped out.
Then I got
Where from? New York City or what?
No, then I went, when we got to SEAL, I went back to Bragg to the actual firing battery, the 60th field. That's when I went back to the firing battery. I was there about 2 weeks.
And you shipped out from Charleston?
Huh?
Where'd you ship from?
Newport News.
Okay.
When I got back, about 2 weeks, I was there about 2 weeks in the 60th field, and they sent me with another lieutenant to load one of one of the ships. So there's one overseas.
So what'd you think? Were you happy or sad that you found out you were going? Didn't matter. Or
Hey, what difference does it make?
And
He
did you
was
think
going.
what kind of did you think that we were definitely going to win, or we definitely were going to lose, or what'd you
I
think?
had no idea one way or the other about that. All
Really?
I know I was going to goddamn war.
But you didn't have strong feelings one way or the other that we were
No.
going to win or lose.
How could you?
I don't know. Just asking the questions.
How could you? Anybody with any common sense just went and played the game, went along, forgot it.
Did most people think they were going to win, or
Well, the Germans thought they were going to win.
well, yeah.
Ray's point was that he was glad that he was drafted rather than, he enlisted rather than was drafted later on because
I didn't enlist. I was
you
drafted.
were drafted.
I was drafted just like everybody was. I won't say here all the time. I even halfway volunteered was when I signed my name to the OCS paper.
Okay. So then,
That was the only time I volunteered for anything.
so did you go straight to Africa then?
Yeah, we made an invasion of Africa. Totally.
And how'd you land? Did you have an amphibious craft, or how'd that
No, they just had the
little skiffs that
little,
took you off?
little boats, and except they had some that had flaps in front, but most of them just regular normal.
Were you being fired at when you landed?
No, not there.
No, so you just landed and
Not
set
till
up your.
Not till after we landed, and I didn't land. I had to unload the damn boat, so I didn't land until the next day or two.
So that was Morocco, Nick.
in
Algiers?
Morocco. Huh?
Morocco.
Morocco, okay.
It's either Safi, Fidela, or Port Lai.
Port Beauty.
Port Lai is where you landed.
Okay. So then how long were you in North Africa?
Until we went to Sicily.
So what'd you actually do? You went out and surveyed?
I went out, I surveyed, I located the 3 firing batteries.
Okay.
I pointed in the 3 firing batteries and gave the guy aiming point so he could get it all, so all 3 of them could be fired at the same point.
So did you have to go out, like where people were firing at you?
Well, occasionally I got fired at.
He even went in a plane on his recon one time.
No, I just lasted 2 trips.
2 trips.
They wanted me to fire, they wanted me to use me as a flying observer for,
Where was that? In Africa?
in Africa, and that's while we were still Fort Leote. So we didn't go up to the fighting front really until after Patton lost his first command up there. He lost so damn many people, he got relieved.
Okay.
And that's where everybody started getting we didn't want nothing to do with Patton.
So when you went on to Sicily, pretty much Africa was already
Africa was finished.
okay. Everybody
We
was done.
cleared
So
Africa.
you just went on. Okay.
We cleared Africa.
Okay.
The British and us cleared Africa.
Yeah, they pushed him out of Tunisia, actually.
Yeah.
What
Did
they
Did you know? Were you with the British?
No,
Or you were-
I was at one time for a couple of weeks was all.
Okay. How were they?
They were good fighters. What the hell?
Were they tired?
In fact, back in Africa, they were the best. That's all there is to it.
Were they tired? They'd been fighting a while, hadn't they?
They ain't no fighting, been fighting.
They were the one that took on Rama more or less in Egypt.
Yeah,
And if it hadn't been for
yeah.
their
We,
campaign,
but one place,
it would have been lost cause.
Patton got in charge of us again. After he got relief for a while, he got charged of us again. He wanted us to cut the African Corps up when they were moving up the coast to get to Bucerta, to get it across to Sicily, you see. And we couldn't make it. Well, thank God they put a paratrooper outfit from a German paratrooper out in front of a tank section. We couldn't get through the hills to get to the thing. They stopped us in the hills. I could sit up there in the hills and see them the dust from the African coal moving north.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you were out there in the middle of the desert?
Oh yeah.
So
We're
you
not
can't,
middle, the edge of the desert.
Did you see any camels?
And camels and natives when we were moving forward through.
Did you like nomads and stuff?
Huh?
You saw nomads with their camels?
I guess. We found, every time we found people running around out in the battlefield was their kind of covering on, we fired a few rounds of ammunition at them. Because they were mostly robbing the dead or something like that.
Okay. So Willie, take it from here.
was you in, do you remember the battle for the hills? Was it El Guitar?
Yeah. That's where Patton got whipped first.
Oh, okay.
All the way up to Thalif, about 3 days, and 2 nights, or something, 3 days and 4 nights, I don't know. But anyway, that's when we made the first march to get up there and fight.
To Tunisia.
Yeah, and they said they were stopped by the fresh American artillery. Well, actually, our whole division, artillery moved up. The infantry didn't get up there until about 2 weeks later because they didn't have enough transportation, you see. But they took all the artillery and trucks and ammunition we could get. Made a forced march for about, I can't remember, 3 days and 2 nights or something.
So you
like
had
that.
to walk?
Yeah, well, you're loading a truck.
Okay.
And we got there, and the fresh American artillery in the way, it was fresh artillery. We were dead in our feet. They couldn't have moved it. Well, we were out practically out of gasoline too, and so we couldn't have moved if we had to. But of course, the Germans didn't know that. And of course, the artillery stopped these damn tanks. And so he didn't.
So that was where they won at desserts
Yeah,
eventually.
before we went up to Berserta, yeah.
Right before you got to do it.
Yeah, after we cleaned that up for a while, we run around the hills a little bit, and then we went up through the Sejanine Valley. The valley goes up to Berserta.
So did you lose a lot of your company by this point or not?
Not too many. Not too
A
many.
few here and there?
Yeah,
Now, Tunisia was a French province,
well,
I think. Algiers and Tunisia were, before the war, French. The Algiers and Tunisia was French before.
yeah.
So there was French Foreign Legion there too.
Yeah, well, after the African campaign, we went back to City Bellabessa, French. We were stationed in the City Bellabessa out there in the middle of the goddamn desert until we moved out to go to Sicily. And that was hot. That was awful. That was.
There we go. Okay, continue. So wait, what made you sick? Eating French food? Oh, French food's great. And that's,
Looked like slop, tastes like slop.
what are we having tonight? Some pate and some coq au vin or something? Yeah. Okay, so continue.
On what? Oh, and then in the Sejanine Valley, we worked with a company of Gumirs all the way up the French Valley.
What's Gamirs?
Native troops,
Oh, okay.
Gomes.
Okay.
Gomes.
native troops from this, native Moroccan or French troops. We were supporting them as well as our own infantry. You see, well, they were nice. They come back and got paid by ears. So I tell them,
What do you mean the Italians disappeared?
huh?
What do you mean?
They got paid by the number of ears they brought in.
Who got paid?
The Gumirs.
Oh, okay.
Hey, if you were in the outpost and you had to make sure your helmet was close to your head, because if your helmet was
Oh,
wrong,
no.
if your helmet was wrong, you got your throat slit.
No, that's not
Is that
good.
anecdotal evidence, Ray, or was there actually some people that?
There was actually people that the Commuters actually done that. Said, boy, and I mean the Italians who were in our front, they just disappeared.
Okay.
Now,
And all we had left was Germans to fight to get up Sedgemoor Valley.
Okay. So then we go to Sicily.
Yeah.
So had there been a lot of fighting already on Sicily?
Hmm?
No.
Or were you like the first people to land on Sicily?
There was no one there until we got there.
So you were the first ones.
We were on the invasion day, yes, we were
Okay.
the first ones.
So you had a lot of invasions.
We had 3 invasions.
Wow, okay. Was that a beach invasion or what?
Hmm?
Was that a beach invasion or how'd you?
No, sure was a beach.
you land on the south end and then
Yeah,
fight
we
up to
ran
the
on
north,
the south
and then fought up to.
and we went around to the east and went close to Palermo. We went east of Palermo through the hills most of the way, you see, and then up the north coast to Messina, or what it is.
Messina.
So what were your rank by now?
I was first Louis.
Okay.
On the way on the way from moving from one section of fighting to the other, Patton was in charge of the army up there, and of course he made all the officers wear A#1 dress uniforms, or theoretically made all of them use
Lord.
dress uniforms, and no one in our outfit ever did. So we were moving from one place around to the other, and the guy got stopped at the roadblock by a MP, a couple of MPs, and they wrote my name and unit down. I said, "What's this for?" He said, "We're gonna fine you for being out of uniform." I said, "Oh, okay, Shopman, raise that 50 down there on these for just a minute." He did. I took their 45s away from him, went over and pulled the radios we were using, then had a battery deal that went from some battery to radio,
Okay.
jerked that out of the side, and then went around to their car and pulled their distributor box out and threw them over down the hill.
See, that's the story I remember, throwing the MPs. I thought you threw the guns over the
I
hill.
did.
Okay, see,
The
there.
guns.
I didn't hear about the distributor cap or whatever.
I immobilized him, then I said, "Let's go."
So did you put your uniform on?
I'm the hell alone.
So, we was wanting to know about the story where you was shell shocked.
Hmm?
You got shell shocked.
Oh, well, never got shell.
Well, not shell shock, but just we're talking about guys going into state of shock from all
Oh, yeah.
the action and stuff like that. I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that you were buried in Sicily, or that you knew somebody that was buried because they went into a state of shock.
Well, yeah, I know several of them went in shell that I couldn't handle. Well, that's what Patton slapped one of the boys that went off his rocker and kind of couldn't stand it. He couldn't stand the pressure. We even had a lieutenant in Europe blew his brains out because he couldn't stand it anymore.
I was thinking that it was due to just the proximity to the howitzers and all the noise and the vibrations and stuff. But it's just intense stress.
The intense stress was whenever we got shelled. You know, of course, we got shelled occasionally.
So how was so at this point you've been over for a while,
Yeah.
and you've seen some pretty big fighting in Sicily.
Well, I didn't see very much fighting, personal fighting. I saw, but I saw a lot of artillery rounds that people
Okay.
were
So,
fighting.
but you haven't really been in the midst of battle too much yet.
Yeah, well, I was there. You know, the battles I was as important part of the battle as anyone else.
No, I'm not implying that you weren't, but like it's not as bad as it's gonna get.
Well, I'm not as bad as Private Ryan's yet.
No.
Going up and getting slayed and running on the front line, killing that man right there, nothing like there.
So did you like you set up the guns? You didn't fire them.
No, all I did was gave them
Coordinates and stuff.
orientation and location. I gave them a map location so they could fire at any point on the
Okay.
map.
Did you shoot at the Germans at some point?
Huh?
Did you shoot at Germans?
Hell yes.
When did you do that?
Well, not personally.
Okay.
When I was in the fire direction center, we took turns during the fire direction center. Anytime we were in battle, there's 4 officers that took the fire direction for 2 hours every night.
Okay.
And a lot
Is
of
that
times,
like being on watch or something?
that's like being on watch.
Okay.
And you had to be awake because
Okay.
if the Krauts moved, well, you shot them.
Okay.
So you killed them.
Okay. So when did you get sick? You got sick in Sicily, didn't
I
you?
got sick in Sicily, but it was because I'd been in Africa.
Okay.
But I had hepatitis, and it didn't get me till right after the fighting was over with. In fact, we moved back from Messina to, we were moving from Messina back to Palermo, and I was in the advanced guard, and we stopped at a restaurant, Italian restaurant on the seashore there. Boy, we had a real mess of meal, boy, and I couldn't, next morning I couldn't do anything except go to the toilet and heave.
So, but
And
you were
that's
hot,
But that meal wasn't quite close.
and hospitalized, right?
Yeah.
And in Sicily or
For
back to England?
in Palermo.
In Palermo.
I was in the hospital there for 60 days. The first 3 weeks, I didn't even eat anything to eat so I could keep down. I just got
Okay.
fed by the arms
Okay.
and legs.
Okay.
And that's when Charles Jackson saw me. His captain was in the next bed to me,
Oh, really?
and he was a mail carrier for that captain.
Huh.
He come in, and he recognized me. I didn't recognize him because I was too damn sick to recognize anybody.
So what was he in? Charles Jackson.
He was in anti-aircraft battery,
Okay.
but he was the clerk in his battery.
Okay.
Okay, so there's this little breathing space between here and D-Day.
Well,
Yeah, a lot of.
I thought you went to the hospital in England, but you were
No.
okay. This is when you took the boat to 30 miles. Off the coast of-
After I got out of the hospital, I was supposed to go to a convalescent camp for 60 days. And I went out to the airport there and got a ride from Palermo Airport and into Algiers from Fifth Army headquarters because if I could get a plane out of that to Casablanca, I was going to come to the States.
Okay. However.
Well, everything from Algiers west was grounded
Okay.
until we pulled out later. Well, really, they started the second beachhead in Italy.
And
The day
And they never
Yeah.
really established. They had quite
they
a...
had a hell of a time getting that established.
They
That's
had
when
a
they
heck
had
of a
so
battle.
much trouble.
But you weren't there.
No way, I wasn't. Thank God. I was afraid that Raffle Devil would send me there.
Because part of the ninth did go that way.
Okay.
Didn't part of the ninth go to...
Not to there.
Okay.
When all the ninth got pulled out after we got pulled, the ninth, the 4th Armor, no, the 2nd Armored, 9th, 2nd Armored, 1st Infantry, and the 4th Infantry, and 82nd Airborne got from after Sicily. We got sent to England to make sure that they had
Veterans.
veteran troops on to
Okay.
make the landings.
Okay.
And so we were supposed to be D+4, but the 90th Division that it hit the beach there on there and couldn't handle it, and so we were D+2, and so you got credit for D+4 to D+4 for invasion.
So what, so how, you went to England first. How long were you in England before the,
Well, I didn't get there until about March.
okay. And
About
how'd
the
you,
1st of March. and
did
then-
you know what was, you didn't know about the invasion, obviously.
I knew we were going to invade the goddamn place, but where or when,
You didn't know
we don't
when or
know.
when? Did everybody know, or you just knew
Well,
because you
hell, we
were,
all knew. Shit. Wasn't dummies. We drank all the goddamn scotch and whiskey we could eat and get a hold of.
But did you know when you were heading to England from Africa?
We knew when we headed from England to
That was why
Africa
you were
that
being
And
that
how was
we
the
were going to make an invasion.
and what was the feeling at that point? Did you think you were gonna make it, or were people optimistic, or you still didn't? You still didn't think about whether you.
You didn't make it. You didn't care.
You just like live day to day kind of
You
thing.
didn't worry about it. You just went ahead and done your job.
And had you'd been with the same people for a while now?
Oh yeah.
So were they pretty good friends, or?
Well, yeah.
He knew all the guys in the brig.
Yeah, well, I was back in Algiers. I went back to Algiers and I was supposed to go to convalescent camp, and they put me in a damn raffle back there.
Of the what?
The replacement depot,
Okay.
which goddamn was being shipping everybody that could. Whatchamacallit. Well, I went down to the 5th Army headquarters and knew a major there. And he gave me a ticket so I could eat in Red Cross and bill it to Red Cross instead of going to that replacement
Okay.
center depot.
Okay.
So, after being there a couple of days, well, I started going down to and I kept hearing about all the trouble the boys were having with the MPs there in Algiers, and all the good Army fighters in these 5 divisions that were going to things. Well, I just started going down to the MP every morning and sign them out. They go in town and get drunk, so in a fight and get put in and goose down, so I go down and fight and bail them out. So I stayed out able for 29 days.
That's a while.
Then I went back to the camp for one. The next day I heard that we were moving out to the boat.
So you should have been AWOL 30 days then.
No, I didn't. Well, wasn't going to play desertion. No way. You know, of course, that colonel that was in charge of the camp out there broke me up for AWOL, you see, and they sent his word to England with me. Not with me, but with carriers. And so I got
Bad character.
When I first got back to England,
Your reputation preceded yourself?
Huh?
Your reputation preceded yourself?
Well, Craig, our division artillery commander had already knew me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew me in Africa and he knew me in Sicily both, you see. Because he come around ever so often our outfit, and of course I was a fall guy.
But you got promoted on the boat, didn't you?
No, not on the boat. I got promoted in the. I got promoted from 2nd John to 1st John in Africa somewhere.
Okay.
I don't have any idea where.
But you were the highest ranking officer on the boat, is that right?
No. The highest ranking officer on the boat was a captain that stayed out to get grapple depot and gave close water drill and then harassed the people. So when he got on the boat, for some reason or other, he fell down a hatch. I don't know.
How'd that happen?
One of these sergeants saw it happen, I don't know.
Well, I don't have any idea how it happened, but I know that's what happened.
So how long did it take the boat to get to England?
About 12 days, because we went almost off the coast and then get everything, and then back to England.
Okay.
Did you go like, was that Liverpool or?
Yeah, Liverpool's where we unloaded, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we pulled in that way. Yeah, talking about that captain, I was sitting there and laying there in the bunk, real nice. Comfortable, all of a sudden, Lieutenant Graham, report to the brig immediately. I didn't have the slightest idea what the hell had happened, I walked up there and the British man was in charge of all the trips. They had a British Marine charge. He says, you're a ranking officer of the Americans at the present time. Says, you're in charge.
So how many men were you in charge of?
About 500, something like that. All these here fighting people. And of course, the master sergeant was one of them. When I got out of the brig, he'd been down living in the same part of the time. He lived in the same place I did, the Red Cross. So that's how come my name come up real fast.
So then you were in England getting ready for the invasion. How long were you there before you left?
Well, from March, 1st of March until
June?
D-Day.
Okay.
And at D-Day we were down in one of the ports. I can't remember which port it was, but anyway, before the day was over with, they told us to start loading.
Did you know like who was going to be the first ones? Did you know like what units were going to be on D-Day and D-Day plus one?
We didn't know who was going to make the invasion or who did and who wasn't. Well, we know we were going to be part of it.
There was a big storm come up the first day, and they'd sent out those they manufactured the big boys or whatever that tore one of them up to pieces, I guess.
Yeah.
The storm's pretty bad. I think there was storms the second day too.
Yeah, I don't know. No, not too much of a storm the second day, but the second day was not as rough as Sicily was for us.
So Eisenhower was in charge at that point. Was everybody happy about that, or?
Well, Bradley was in charge of the fighting troops.
Okay.
So everybody was happy. All us old people were happy with that, you see.
Okay.
We don't know about the other people.
So you were laid at D-Day plus two. Which beach?
D2.
Okay. Which beach you laid at?
Utah.
Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we landed and about the second or third day we cut the Continental Peninsula. Our infantry cut the Continental Peninsula. And we got all the way across the peninsula.
Okay.
And we cut the peninsula, but of course, about the day we hit they hit the coast on the other side of the peninsula. When 90th Infantry lieutenant come up behind where I was running survey, says, "Hey, what outfit are you?" And I told him what it was. He says, "Boy," says, "I've been walking as hard as I can ever since D-Day, D plus two. I mean D and D plus. See," he said, "there's a damn crazy major coming out and got on top of the hedgerow, and there's a bunch of boys with him." He said, "Come on, boys." And he said, "I've been marching so hard as I can. I haven't seen a hydrant here any of your outfit."
Huh?
And Mike Kaufman's guy broke the colonel that cut the Continental Peninsula with his outfit, 60th Infantry. And of course we were in direct support of the 60th Infantry. The guy asked me where he was, and I said, "Well, I'll give you a clue. I'm moving up, the guns are moving up here probably in that next half hour, and so we'll be covering him. We'll have him covered for sure."
So now when you landed, what was happening like when, Private Ryan, everybody's drowning and everybody's being fired on and stuff. When you landed, were they still firing?
Well, they were, but
But you'd pretty much, the beachhead was almost secure?
the beachhead, Well, I tell you, no, the beachhead wasn't secure. That's why we landed so goddamn fast, because the infantry landed so fast, and we were right with them, you see. But the thing was that the Germans were pushing the 90th back into the beachhead.
Okay.
And when they got in, they didn't have much. They hit some secondary troops, you know.
Okay.
They didn't have hardly any fight for about 8 or 10 hours, you see.
Okay.
And then the Germans had counterattacked, and they were driving them back to the beach. And
So, but
they'd gone in putting that in the well. But
were people like drowning, getting off the boats and stuff, or?
well, some of them did, a few of them did, and of course not so very many on our outfit.
Yeah, Omaha was supposed to be
Omaha
worse
was in
for that
Omaha
kind of
and the
thing.
British beach were.
Why is that?
They were tough.
Why is that?
Well, because they didn't have the well, they had better troops on. Germans had better troops up there to begin with, and then they got reinforcements faster, and they were entrenched better.
Okay.
Because our beach was fairly no hills really.
Okay.
Our beach was no hills. It was like some of your beaches
Okay.
around here, you know.
Like the Jersey Shore.
Yeah,
Okay.
they no hills right within a few miles of it, really. Yeah, it sloped up, but
How did you get your artillery down?
hmm?
How did they unload that artillery? And stuff?
Well, we loaded it into the
Ponton?
tank, and a boat that had a
Flat.
flat front.
Amphibious.
We drove out of the boat. We unloaded into a duck or one of them things with a bottom and
So that was where you were detached, doing that kind of thing too, and as an engineer.
well, no, I've always done that. No, I've always got the privilege to help them unload the ships. That's for sure. No doubtful privilege to load them too.
Okay. So, where'd you go from the invasion? What happened next?
Well, they cut the peninsula.
Well, first thing we cut the peninsula,
Okay.
then we turned off and took Cherbourg.
Okay. Oh, you went north?
Hmm?
You went north?
We went north
Oh, okay.
there, and then we come down down to make a break to St. Louis, and that's where we lost 18,000 men in 10 days
Wow.
in our division.
Really?
Yeah, we went, so the artillery went over there with 45 men, 45 officers,
Wow.
and I don't know how many, 2 days later, 2 days after we got through, when the colonel run and executive officer run over a landmine. There was 13 of us old officers who come from all the way from Africa left.
Wow. Well, that's not good.
And all 13 made us the rest of the war.
Huh.
One of them got off his rocker for a while, but he come back. And so
Did you get all upset about it, or?
well, you just get upset, and it wasn't doing any good.
Like, could you tell when somebody was going to break down, or
Pretty
crack
much.
up? And what'd you do? Could you do anything? Were you worried they were going to go and shoot everyone, or?
Well, we had a guy go up his rocker in Bizerta, and then back in Africa, he was going to kill me and the captain. The captain found him first, shot him.
So, but you had a pretty clear concept of who was going to make it and who wasn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was bragging about it. He killed both of us. He was drinking off his rocker. He was hunting us with his alt-3. He stepped around the corner.
Now, were you getting was
Uh,
did you have the same men the whole time, or did you get fresh
well,
replacements
we had
in?
to get replacements all the time. In fact, we had lieutenants that come in France and come in as observers in France. They didn't last one day.
Why is that?
They got killed.
Why? Just because they didn't know how to?
Well, they didn't know how to survive.
Okay.
There's,
We always, whenever we come new surveyors, new lieutenants come in for a forward observer job, we always assign a sergeant, one of our old sergeants that was, a sergeant and one other man always went with the forward observer.
Okay.
Well, to carry his packs and he's ready to go and things like that, and assisting, you see. And by the time we got around to France, well, the sergeants knew how to do everything, except they just didn't have the authority. And if the lieutenants listened to them, well, they kept them alive. So, mostly.
So now where are we? We're at Cherbourg. Do you like being in France?
Yeah?
Was it good being in France?
No, yeah. Not until we got through St. Lo. Because we were fighting all the way.
So was that the worst fighting you saw?
That's the worst fighting we had, yeah.
hand to hand, hand to hand,
Well, the
just
infantry,
every inch, you know.
and the infantry was fighting hand to hand occasionally. Well, we caught a one morning, one night, just before dark. The infantry had gone ahead on both sides of the road, and they stayed off the road and going across behind the whatever they call them.
Hedges.
And anyway, well, I got a drunk bunch of paratroopers, German paratroopers walked down the road, and they pulled a tank destroyer on the back end of the thing across the road there, and they set up machine guns on the other end of the road. And they backed off, and I took one gun and walked my gun up, and walked a shell right up and down the top of it, and a positive shell that exploded about 20 feet above the thing, and boy, we decimated that paratrooper group right then. I was set just perfect. The gun that I had was set just perfect right down that road.
Mm-hmm.
All I had to do was lift it 10 to 50 degrees elevation and send another shell down there.
Was there any time that you felt like the tide had turned, that it was just a matter of wiping up?
Oh, and, yeah, after we got through St. Lo,
Then you knew it was over at that point?
we knew it was over. We just didn't want to.
You wanted to come home.
We didn't know. We just know until how many was going to get killed before it was over with. Yeah, when we got across, when we got out of St. Lo,
So you said
when we got out of the
That's
beachhead
it.
at France, well, we knew it was over with because the Russians were doing the same thing on the other side.
Did you hear about what was going on the other fronts, or even on like
yeah.
Japan, or?
Oh yeah.
So you had pretty up-to-date information about what was happening?
Well, yeah, we heard all about the damn problems in Italy that they've had, and they were there, and all the problems the Russians were having. And
Russians
then
got
when
wiped
the
out.
tide turned on them, we heard about the. That's enough, ain't it, for tonight?
Yeah, that would cut it.
That's good.
That would cut it.
So we're going back to Africa, you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what, is it on?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gone.
Okay. Well, I figured I was a survivor actually our first real contact with the Germans.
Why is that?
Well, there's three of us. at Thedla, when we went up to stop the German breakthrough at Patton Coast,
Okay.
we had a round come in behind. I and two other guys were walking across the open space, and I must have heard the shell coming in because I was going down because it hit. I had a chunk hit me in the left shoulder and it tore my helmet liner clear through and even cut the paper under the paper
Really?
liner inside.
Huh.
And I had to get new helmets.
Oh my gosh.
And the guy next to me, it killed him.
Uh-huh.
The guy on the other side of him got shrapnel in his hip. And that's why I always figured, hey, I was going to survive because they did get me the first time.
Huh. That was the first time you were really shelled though? Or
Well, that's the first time I really
under
got,
direct?
yeah.
Huh.
You see, it's still, I was still, the French gave up while I was still unloading the boat.
Okay.
In our place, they gave up 1 day, you see.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't directly anything.
So the guy that got killed, was he a friend of yours or?
No, he was my Jeep driver.
Mm. This one article I was reading, they said, or actually I think it's in the Tom Brokaw book, they were talking about people's reactions to Saving Private Ryan, and this one veteran said, well, first of all, you wouldn't be just walking in an open field talking out loud like that.
Well, we were behind. The Germans couldn't see us.
Okay.
We were behind
Behind the line or whatever?
we were with the artillery, but artillery was behind a kind of a big ridge, and,
Okay.
and they could not. There was no place where they could observe us.
Okay.
But they knew we were there, so they were shelling that area.
The other thing the guy said was that, you know, it wasn't real accurate because it showed older people. You know, he said most of the kids were 18, 19 years old.
That's right.
You know, and you wouldn't get somebody
Well,
much older than that.
Our bunch is older than that.
Were they?
Our bunch is most of them were somewhere between 22 and 26.
Really?
Yeah, because most of her had been out of high school a year for 2 or 3 years,
Okay.
and one of the captains in our outfit was a cadet commander at Purdue. Well, now I was taking ROTC,
Okay.
and Ralph and Williams had just graduated about 3 years before from
Okay.
Purdue.
But how old was the oldest people? How old were you when you're too old to fight? Or for them to send you?
Well, they didn't. The time they were getting us, they were getting 21s to about 40.
Really? So they draft 40-year-olds?
Really young. They were getting them people first, you see.
Okay.
Well, they were drafted most of them were married and all that sort of junk, had exceptions. You see.
Okay.
But if they were single, they were drafted up to around 40. And they didn't have anyone to take care of. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
And-
so we were at St. Lo. You just took St. Lo.
And the other Africa thing was, I think I killed my first German there, because there were 3 planes were strafing us. We were moving, and so I was back to the rear end of the convoy
Okay.
almost. And the 3 planes come through and strafed us once, and they come down to make a second pass. And, well, I got in a ditch to begin with. And I got and this year, they started this second time it's come to in the strafe us with this leading plane. I was back of the convoy almost. Nobody was shooting anything I could tell because I couldn't see any tracer fire.
Mhm.
But he was coming right down the road, boy. He did first. And he was where I thought he was where he had to be. I hit him with my up three.
Yeah, really.
Because he never ever never fired his gun. His plane just kept going right on into the hill.
Wow.
And the other two, for some reason, the other two planes didn't come. They didn't come make another strafing on that.
Okay.
So evidently he must have said, however, he was hit.
Mhm. Hey, when you took the boat,
But I was pretty sure
you got him.
that I got him because I was the only one that had. Boy, he was just perfect. When I could show him I could kill a rabbit run with a 22. He didn't have much chance, I didn't think.
When you had to go all the way back to England on the boat, you had to go all the way over to the States. Was that to avoid the U-boats or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they circled to the south
Okay.
out of the U-boat area, and then they got up into the actual convoy lane. And after we got to the state and got into the convoy lanes, went through it. You see.
Were you worried about getting hit when you were on the boat?
I
You thought the
wasn't
boats
worried
were-
about getting hit, period.
But did you think the boats were pretty safe?
No,
Or- no.
no, they were damn. They were pretty
Nothing
damn-
was safe.
Hmm?
Nothing was safe.
Nothing was safe out in the water. Not when the Germans still had a bunch of U-boats. Okay,
Okay.
after we got St. Lo, we got stopped at the, before we got to the Ruhr River. So we were going north across the country. We were in Belgium, and we got stopped. And just about that time they had market baskets where the paratroopers dropped into the Netherlands.
Okay.
And the Germans were flooding the hell out of it by busting dams. And this Emmanuel Dam was one of them that they needed to bust.
Huh.
And it was a great big earthen dam, so it was hard to dynamite, you see. But it's only just 4 or 5 miles out of Wasteman. And we couldn't see it. We knew it was there, and we were shelling it.
Huh.
But they had Germans up there that they attacked it with a 39th Division, and they got pushed back. The 4th Infantry tried it, and they got pushed back, so they sent us up there to go out, and that's when our liaison officer with the infantry was going to make the original thing, got drunk on the medical alcohol, and I had to go up and walk down the head patrol with things. But the thing is, I didn't know that they had so many artillery divisions. They just come to that your area. They just devasted that area, I'll tell you. When we kicked off after 5 o'clock, after they'd been shelling it for about 3 hours, the Germans were there. Was a shell shock. They didn't even shoot us. The colonel was first. He was drunk, and had big white flag and big fat mat board out there. And then I walked down there, and then his orderly was behind us. His orderly was a big fat broad Mexican kid, and carried a BAR.
What's that?
Automatic rifle,
Okay.
big automatic rifle.
Okay.
If a German come out of a foxhole close or showed him a foxhole close to it, what's he going to say? See that man killing him, and that the BR sounded off, and that was it. We saw 4 or 5 people like that, but they were just shell shocked. They didn't even shoot at us. So we got out there, and when I could get the artillery directly on that Emmanuel Dam, I could get him to shoot directly on that Emmanuel Dam. The Germans had to get out of there,
Okay.
so they didn't ever blow that dam.
Oh, so they didn't.
They did not get that dam blown.
Now where is that?
Well,
That's in
somewhere
Belgium?
outside of Durham.
Where?
Somewhere outside of Durham, Germany. I don't know where.
Okay. Okay. So you're not in Belgium yet.
Hmm?
You're not in Belgium yet.
Oh, yeah, we're already in Belgium.
Oh, okay.
We're,
Okay.
we're, yeah, man,
And you were near, now is this any time near the Battle of the Bulge, or?
yeah, we were, well, we had that line that, as where the 99th got run over to start the Battle of the Bulge.
Okay.
A native replaced us there because we were going north to make an attack north somewhere. And so they busted us through the 99s, so they pulled us around to the far east end of the thing
Okay.
and put us on across the Eupen-Verveers roads, because that's what the Germans had got that. They had a freeway into Antwerp, and of course they couldn't make it because the 9th there and the 1st, they put the 9th there in the far end and the 1st and the center and the 82nd. Airborne reinforcement behind it with the 2nd Armor behind us, so they didn't have a chance.
Okay. This isn't, you weren't talking about the Roar dams.
Huh?
There's something in here about the drive to the Roar dams. Those aren't the dams you were talking about.
Yeah, the Roar Dam.
Oh, these are the ones you were trying to,
One of them.
okay. Okay, so that's where we are, okay.
And then we had to cross, and then after the winter, so we were in forest there, you see, so after the winter was getting over with, we had to move out and go across the river, which is pretty easy after we got, after the.
Okay, so you're going to the Rhine now.
Yeah, we were,
Over the Roar to the Rhine.
yeah,
Okay, I see where you are.
and, we were one of the first artillery outfit across the bridge, the Remagen Bridge.
Okay,
Yeah, that Ranger outfit or something like that caught that, and we were the first infantry in artillery that went across.
okay,
So we made that beachhead there to Remagen, which put us across the Rhine,
okay.
which caused all the people a lot of trouble, because it made it a lot easier for them to get across other places.
Over the Rhine of Remagen. I was through Remagen. I remember I took a train and I saw the sign. I didn't stop or anything, but I just thought, I remembered seeing that.
And after that, the war was pretty easy.
So pretty much after that, everybody was
And we were
giving up.
giving up most of the time. Oh, I went out on a recon. I went out on a recon one time. They didn't. And a bunch of the German kids, whatever they call the youth corps, pinned us in the damn basement for about 3 days.
Where's that?
I don't know where it was. It was somewhere out between Remagen and Antwerp.
In the Rhine?
And
Sure.
not the Rhine, the Elbe.
Oh, okay.
After the war, well, when we crossed the Rhine, we knew the war was over with.
How many people were in the basement?
Huh?
How many people were in the basement?
Oh, about a dozen of us. We had a machine gun in there. We had 2 machine guns on our vehicles we brought in,
Okay.
and so they harassed us, but they never did really try to take us.
Okay.
They had us tied there, but we had enough supplies, it didn't matter. Of course, we were on there about 3 or 4 days in the outfits, when our outfits moved up, and then they had to either give up or run, you see. They probably run and hid or hid through their weapons away and come back and act like kids, which a lot of them did, rather than go to the POW camp. So
Okay.
that's
So
about it.
okay. So where were you when the wars were done? What was going on there?
Well, when the war was over with, I was on 10-day leave, and I just come back from a 10-day leave in England,
And where were you on leave from? Where'd you leave from?
Huh?
When you were on leave, where were you stationed then?
Well, when I come back, well, it's somewhere south of Nuremberg.
Okay.
That's where the Ark Cup was. And when I come back after a 10-day leave,
And was everybody just?
I was then getting off a boat outside of Paris when that news come over to Germans had kept insulated. So I was 3 days of getting out of Paris.
Okay. So it was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I don't know where I ever went to bed or not. Because I got in this train and laid down in the aisle and went to sleep.
Bet you and about 1,000 other GIs, huh? Were you a captain at that point?
Hmm?
Were you a captain then?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know it because I'd been promoted while I was the month
On leave?
before, but I never got the order before I left on leave.
Huh. Okay. So you're a captain right before.
Well, I had a little problem at sometime before we got him up to the River deal. Why? I got sent out to shoot a bunch of tank destroyers in harassing fire. They needed somebody to show them how to do it, you see. And they sent me to do that harassment too, and they put me on the front end of they gave me an area to take them to, put in the front end of a downslope of the hill, and the colonel, the full colonel of one of the outfits, I don't remember where, I think it's 47th or 39th, but he had his headquarters right down in the bottom of it. And boy, just as soon as I pulled in, he said, "What have you done here?" He come up from down below. "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm in here to fire these things, harassing fire for the next 2 nights if we stay here." He says, "You can't do that." And I said, "Bullshit." To take a look at my map, my general said that for me to question somewhere in this area, and this is where I'm going to place him. I said, "If you want to you got another valley, you can go across that next hill and you'll be closer to your own outfit than you won't." He said, "Well, you're liable to get a bunch of shorts in here." I said, "I'm short fire, yeah." Well, I said I wouldn't be surprised. We fired him all night and never got any.
No.
But boy, but the next week he become the exec, not the exec officer, but something in the division. And they moved him back to the division. I'd already been put in for. I didn't know it, but they'd already put me in for recommendation for captain.
Okay.
And they told me a couple of months later. But it was 9 months. That's later when he got right before the war was over, evidently he must have got transferred again because my promotion got me.
Oh no.
But anyway, well, he tried to court-martial me naturally, and of course when he did, boy, Craig just laughed at him.
So did it when the war with Japan was over? Did you guys have all the details about the bomb and stuff? Did you know, or you just knew
We knew they done. We knew they bombed them.
But you didn't know it was a bomb.
Yeah, they told us what it was. But when the war was over with, they come around and asked for volunteers to stay till the China. So the Jap war was over with, and they promised us 90 days in the States at home. Then we come back to the same outfit, the same group, and that was before they started sending us home before they started sending us home, you see.
Okay.
And practically all the old people like me that have been in
Said,
thing from Africa.
"No, thank you."
They signed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we practically damn near every one of us signed up
Really?
to stay for the duration. You see.
Oh, okay. So you had 3 months off?
We would have.
Oh, except it was over.
It was
Okay.
over. It was over before I ever got replaced
Okay.
to come to so that's why I got caught, and I spent, that's why I got caught in the military government over there for about 3 extra months or 4 extra months, because they couldn't find anyone to replace me.
Mm.
The job I was pulling was a major job,
Okay.
and when I gave me that job, I was already doing a major job for about 2 months while I was still second, first Louis,
Okay.
and when the majors were short of majors, they were going to stay in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
So I got stuck there until they finally replaced me with a captain. I was awful glad. Of course, they just finally realized they weren't going to find a major that had any experience
Yeah.
to do the job.
So then, where were you when you found out about the end of the Second War?
Hmm?
Ooh.
Well, I was outside the Paris taking a demolition and intelligence school.
Oh, okay.
So it took me, well, we had 2 more days of school. They announced it at breakfast, and I told them that 3 guys from our outfit that school was over.
Yeah. I guess.
He said, they said, how come? I said, well, the war's over with. I'm not going. I'm dead. I'm in the meat. I said, I'm going to Paris. We were 50 miles out of Paris. I was in Paris in about 2 hours
Yeah.
from the time I heard it.
I bet so was about everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah, it sure was. That was even better than that.
Really?
Yeah, that was even better than when the other one was over. Because now everybody knew it was over for sure.
Huh.
Okay.
And then, now tell me one more. What was the story about the guy that wanted you to go to Vietnam, or wanted you to stay in the military?
That's it. Right. I told you that just now.
Oh, who was it?
Well, I don't know. Our General Craig was our division artillery.
No, there's somebody that said you're civilian under it all or something. Who?
Oh well. I got called that by about everybody.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't do things just
The military way.
The Army way.
Huh. No, but I thought there was somebody that wanted you to come to Vietnam and be.
Oh well. Oh yeah. Yeah. When the war was over, Westmoreland.
Yeah, that's who.
Westmoreland went to the Pentagon, and he asked for 3 guys from our outfit and 2 guys from his original outfit. Since the time the war was over with, why he was something in he was in 5th First Army headquarters over there.
Okay.
And so he went to the Pentagon right before the war, and Asia was over, Africa was over, Europe was over, right before Europe was over, and he needed a staff. And so he wrote for our outfit, Williams, and I can't think of the captain's name, and the major he had in his other outfit, and the captain in his original outfit when he done with us all
Okay.
of us. He was with us till after the breakthrough in St. Louis. Westmoreland was
Oh,
with
really?
us with our division.
Huh.
And then he went up.
Okay. Did you ever see these? Did you ever see Eisenhower or?
Oh yeah.
You did? You
Oh,
saw him?
Yeah. Yeah, he come around to practically all the outfits in England. He made
Really?
a special trip around practically all of them that were going to make the invasion and talk to all the divisions. And
Did you feel like you were under pretty good leadership?
oh, we knew we were. And of course, he still
Bradley, you see.
Who was the best German leader? Who was the one that you guys? Rommel was the worst, the one that you feared the most, or that had the best troops, or the.
No, he had. Well, he managed his troops better than anybody else.
Okay. He was the best military mind of them.
Well, I guess he got more. He got more out of